And now, welcome to the How to Finish a Book lesson. When you're first starting to read, finishing a whole book can actually be quite difficult. For some people, yes, for some people, no. But as I've mentioned in several of the modules and lessons before, such as the lesson about being in the here and now, this will help you finish a book no matter what level you are in at your journey. One of the first rules of finishing a book is to not be discouraged by a more challenging book. For example, if you're reading about a topic that is not your expertise, there are bound to be vocabulary and terms that are going to be difficult for you. Don't let that stop you from finishing the book. But of course, if it really is too hard and you really don't think you're ready for that type of knowledge, then stop. Just because you've stopped doesn't mean that you can't pick it up at a later date. Every book written is written for a particular type of person. Therefore, not every book is going to be a good fit for every single person. Another tip for you is the fact that when you're reading a challenging book, maybe it's the first exposure to that topic. So of course, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But realize the second and the third book you pick up about that same topic is going to be much easier for you to read. The easier the topic is, the faster you will be able to get through the book. And that's why it's important to find books that are just challenging enough to where it keeps you interested. You want to try and avoid books that are too challenging, though, to the point that you lose momentum. There are two main ways you can lose momentum. One, by reading books which are way too easy for you. It'll cause you to get stuck or not be able to even make progress as quick. You may also find yourself in analysis paralysis, which you'll learn more about in the upcoming lesson. You've probably already heard of that term before, though. Number two, something similar might happen if you read books which are way too challenging for you, especially when you're first starting out. It's important to build up step by step. So when the time does come, you can dip into books you initially thought were way over your head. Not understanding something can be distressing, but with perseverance and determination as well as thorough study, you can begin to understand anything you put in your path. Take a look at another takeaway I learned from Cadence by Pete Williams, which can be applied to reading as well or any other aspect of your life. It's called 10% wins. Small and incremental improvements across all areas of life, rather than trying to strive for big wins, actually doubled our profits and led to long-term sustainable success. These small improvements are what we call 10% wins. And this is the secret sauce, so to speak. Although a 10% win may seem small, when it's compounded by the next and the next and the next, the result is a 95% lift overall. It's also a way of creating a kind of build, measure, learn feedback loop to make sure you keep tabs on your progress at regular intervals. Instead of focusing all your effort on a make it or break it traffic campaign, something on your website, whatever it may be, over a few months, you could spend a week or a month implementing a simpler campaign for a 10% win in your suspects, which are the people that you think may be a good fit for your product or service or whatever it may be. Then those suspects can become prospects and then, of course, convert. And so on. What this comes down to in reading or any other area of your life is by striving to get a 10% win with a book that is about 10% more advanced to read than a few others that you have read before. You can also take those 10% extra takeaways from that book and apply them in your life. This strategy will compound your progress in every area of your life and keep you motivated to continue to do so. You'll learn more about the 10% wins in the action module in the lesson that's actually called 10% wins. So you'll get to learn a lot more, but hold on to this idea of 10% wins and maybe even do a little bit of research about it on your own. That way you can get a head start on it. So that way when you come to the 10% win lesson, you can immediately apply what I suggest. Also, another thing for you that you could do is check out the book Cadence by Pete Williams and buy it, read it, apply the 10% wins in your life. This will be the best way for you to move forward. So I guess the easiest way to sum this short lesson up is to pick books that are going to be challenging enough for you. That way you don't get bored. That way you don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. That way you don't get stuck for any reason. And stay away from books that are way too challenging for you to be able to finish the book. If you read a book that makes your head hurt, like literally hurt almost, maybe that's not such a good book for you. In the end, it will all come down to your focus and, of course, your choices of books. Now, move on to the next lesson.